Hello, Lotus Chat listeners. We are back and we're so excited to be here tonight. And there are three of us here tonight. And so first of all, I'll introduce myself. I'm Laura Benson, and I'm going to let the other ladies introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. I'm Zian here.
Hi, y'all. This is Jasmine. I'm back.
Yay, Jasmine. Yay. Well, this episode is episode 57 of Lotus Chat, and we're going to talk about magnifying the power of awareness. And I ran into an old book that someone had shared with me called The Power of Awareness, and it's written by Neville Goddard. And it takes kind of a little bit different slant into living the life of awareness, the life of law of attraction, living a higher level life that you've created. It kind of takes it in a little bit different direction. So tonight we're not doing a book report for you. We're not going to try to sell you the book, but we just kind of want to take some of the principles that he talks about and kind of discuss that within our group. Hopefully it'll be important to you that you'll be able to hear maybe a new way of addressing the law of attraction. And you can find out a little bit more about us because I'm sure that we'll talk about how it's affected us personally. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the three of us to talk about what principles of the book affected you most. So Zian, would you get us started on this? And I'm sure that it'll prompt a lot more discussion.
Yeah. So when I first came across this book, thanks to you, Laura, I felt that it has a lot of similarities with the other books that we have read before, so particularly from the Law of Attraction, Deepak Chopra's Seven Spiritual Law of Success. But I think what I like about the way Neville Goddard puts it is that he puts it in a simplified way that's not too woo-woo, like it's just like it's very relatable. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And one of the things that really strikes me is that when he talks a lot about the way you think about yourself, your self-concept, how you view yourself, pretty much like the story that you create in your mind, and how that will definitely affect the reality. So simply put, when we change the mental conversations we have in our mind, we change the world around us. And that's what I really like about one of the best points that I like from Neville Goddard. And particularly, I like this quote from him, which I'm going to read out. He says that if a man's concept of himself were different, everything in his world would be different. So if we change the way we think, we change everything around us. And I love that. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Zian. I really liked that section of the book. It's the first section. And this phrase really hit me that he said, if this is your concept of yourself, such as I am strong, I am secure, I am loved, that determines the world you live in. And it's taken me a long time to shift how I viewed myself, because I viewed myself for so many years in what I thought others thought of me. And he pulls you back into, what do you think about yourself? He asks the question, he says, I am blank. And that's one of the hardest concepts, because we all want to say, well, we're someone's spouse, we're someone's parent, we're someone's employee, we're someone's college degree. But really, how do we see ourselves in characteristics? How do we see ourselves in our behavior, in our character? And so he really gets into that. And for me also, it kind of was a great segue, and I kind of needed this. How do I view myself affects the life I'm living? So for a long time, I felt that I couldn't be loved. And there are reasons for that. And so I lived in a world where I didn't have a lot of love because I believed that I couldn't be. And how he talks about how shifting that, and in learning how to shift your mindset, like you were talking about, Zian, challenges us into creating a life of love. Instead of saying, I'm not lovable, I said, I am love and I'm going to love others. changes how your world responds to you, changes how people view you, changes how they react to you. And so that was something that really affected me in the first part, is when you change how you view the world inside, it affects how you see it on the outside. Awesome.
I love that.
Absolutely. So what I'm hearing both you ladies say is how the framework that he's laid out is allowing us to really hone in and magnify the perceptions that we are continuing to project, because the mind movie that we're playing out in our mind is actually the movie that we create in our life, and how our reality is formed by these emotionally charged feelings and thoughts that allow us to navigate. So a big takeaway that I'm taking from this book is that to be an intentional observer, so that way we can make formidable choices that are actually aligned with the life that we want to lead.
Yes.
Deanne, what principles most challenged you in your journey that he talks about in the book?
I wouldn't say that it's challenging, more like I felt that it wasn't highlighted. He spoke a bit about, he spoke a lot about the power of imagination, how relating to what we just spoke about is how we need to imagine what we want in your mind. But what I felt that it was missing, correct me if I'm wrong, because I read the summary, I didn't read the entire book, was that I felt that the missing link was that it wasn't said how we could transfer that imagination into a visualization. So how do we really, see it in real? So he mentioned this quote that isn't, he said the world around you is a picture in your mind's eye, which is true. But then what I really strongly believe in myself is that it's the power of dream board. What we picture in our mind, we got to literally have the exact picture that we could see, every day looking at it. And that's what I think I would say would challenge my mind. Yeah.
I had a similar reaction. The principles that he discusses that I had the most challenge with is continuing the vision. I know how to change it. I know how to create the vision, but keeping it. So for instance, he talks about in the case study section, people who create the vision, they go and they start living this vision, they start seeing it, and then someone on the outside doesn't react the way that you think they will, and you get your vision turned to what someone else is doing, or how someone else is acting, or how they're doing. And early in my journey, that was so easy because I could get all these great ideas. I'm going to build my business. I'm going to find the right partner and create a great life together. I was going to have more abundance and have more money to feel more comfortable so I could do new projects. I just had it. And then someone would say, oh, that can't happen because of this and such, or you really need to do this. And it would just kind of shake me and keep me off my balance. And what Goddard says is that's normal at the beginning, but you have to become deeper and more cemented in your vision and continue living it. And he calls it, and this was a new term for me, he calls it righteousness. When you are living a righteous life, you are continually living your best life and taking your vision, what you've imagined, and creating it in reality without worry about what someone else says or what someone else does. You are literally living it, and you are feeling it in here, and it is happening. So, but for me, the biggest challenge was keeping my vision and focus and not letting someone else sway me with words or with actions. How about you, Jazzy?
Well, for me, what it seems like my takeaway is that this book is an invitation to take a closer look at the mechanics of the inner workings. So it's more of like how can I redirect my thoughts when I observe them, like what am I giving permission to, or what can I adjust? So this has given me the tools to look at, where is my mind in abundance? Where is my mind in lack? Where is the story that of victimhood? Where is
Yeah.
the narrative of the hero? As I'm learning how to be more of an intentional observer, what I get to take a closer look at, what is my vision and what is my mind truly set on. So I know I probably strayed away from the question, but I know that's what I am definitely learning to do, is like I can look at the contrast to create new highlights, because to be the intentional observer to me is to become the powerful intentional creator. So to take what is objectively happening and occurring in one's life and to create the subjective, listen to the narrative of that subjective to understand, what did I give permission to, and what adjustments can I make, or what can I celebrate? So even the breakdowns have breakthroughs. So yeah, I really just, I can see how this is such a useful, resourceful tool in creating a new mechanic and navigating, and also in what I'm attracting, because essentially that's the world that I'm living in. It's like the movie has its sets of, evokes emotions and brings more of that. So I'm either going to celebrate it or I need to change something up. So yeah.
One of the things I really liked about this book is, one of the things about the law of attraction is it has such great principles, but for a long time it just kind of hasn't been, there hasn't been something to equate it to or to see it. And how Goddard takes it is, he takes it with whatever faith you have or don't have, that's not important in the book, but he kind of correlates it with faith so that you can kind of see how living the life of awareness or the law of attraction can be a way of living. And sometimes many of us have a experience growing up with faith. And so with that faith, he equates it into the law of awareness. So he talks about how having faith in your vision really isn't a vision if you don't have faith in it. If you don't have faith, it can be and come into being. He also talks about failure. And I loved that because so many of us are like, well, I failed, so. But he talks about it is a part of the process. And what he means by failure is, if you don't believe the vision, or you don't believe it can happen, or you don't see how it can happen, it's a momentary failure, but it's taking that faith and putting it back into practice until you can say for sure in your life that you are completely cemented in that. I loved how he drew those correlations.
That's beautiful, Laura. And as he, did you want to continue, Laura?
Yeah, I do. Yes. No,
Yeah.
I want you to. I want to hear what
Oh,
you
okay.
say, Zia. Sorry. I want to hear you.
No, as we also talk about, magnifying this power of awareness, one of the things that I like that he said is that when you imagine the things that you have in your mind, you got to also assume that those wish has already been fulfilled. So assume that it has already happened, kind of attach those dreams and visions you have in your mind with that emotions, with that feeling that it has already happened. So I want to draw a quick example in my life. I think about 3 years ago, in my mind, I kind of made that decision that I want to continue my academic journey. But my typical logical left brain was telling me, I don't know if I could do it. I'm a mother, I'm working, blah, blah, blah. I have like so many reasons why I couldn't do it. And then it took me quite a while to kind of, snap out of that, because it's true, right? If you can imagine that it can't happen, you can also imagine that it can happen. So I began to imagine like what it would be like, not really the practicalities of what time and what am I going to do, not that, but more like imagine what I will feel like, if I graduated. I imagine down to the details of, when I'm in the graduation hall, when I'm that feeling of achievement, when I'm walking up, to get my certificate, and it was just imagination, but I took a long time, imagine that sitting there by my poolside, imagine that happening, and together attached with that feeling and what Goddard say, assume that it has happened. Though at that point of imagination, nothing has happened yet. Though there was no sign-ups, I didn't apply for any grad school, it was just an imagination. But the reason why I'm telling that story is because I want to encourage, women who's listening right now, and perhaps it's not an academic journey. Perhaps you are in a situation where you feel that you're stuck, or you feel that it's so far off from where you imagine what you want, or that vision. I want to encourage you that it is definitely possible, and that if you think from a possibility mindset and abundance mindset, what you imagine in your mind, if you ascribe that feeling and you, like Goddard say, assume that it has already happened, assume that your wish has already fulfilled, it will happen.
Oh, that's great, Deanne.
Yes. So, and to add to that, I want to invite all of you women or whoever's listening to subscribe to the concept of to believe it, to see it. Sometimes it really just comes from the space of being able to believe it, feel it, to see it manifest into your life. Is there anything else anyone would like to share? Well, I guess this concludes us to the end of this episode, and we want to thank you all for joining us. We invite you to subscribe and follow us, turn on the notification bell, so that way you are all up to date with whatever we are sharing with you all, because we are here to empower you guys collectively. And we want to invite you to the next episode, which is episode 58, Books That Inspire Us. And we will have a full house next week, so I'm super excited about that. And yeah, that's it. That's all for now. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.